Hey, Book Baddie.
Welcome to the Bound to be Bad podcast.
A book club podcast where we discuss one book a season from the perspective of someone who has never read the book before.
And from the perspective of someone who has. This season, we are so excited to be reading Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros with you.
I'm Cierra. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the wing leader.
And I'm Casper, and my pronouns are they, she, and I'm the first year cadet.
We aim to rave and rant about anything and everything that comes to mind while reading. But please note, this podcast will be discussing book spoilers as we talk about each week's chapters.
As this will be my first time reading, spoilers for anything beyond the already read material is not fair game.
This podcast is run by adults, who will most likely be using adult language and talking about adult themes, especially this episode. So please be aware of your surroundings while listening.
These thoughts and opinions are expressly our own and by no means reflect those of the original author. Reading is a privilege and books are art. Art is subjective.
That being said, we'd love for you to read along with us and share your thoughts and opinions as well.
So without further ado, prepare to enter Basgiath War College.
I'm going to be doing a lot of this tonight. I can feel it already. Alrighty, let's quickly discuss how this conversation is about to go down. First, we'll go over our newest or latest hyperfixations. This is, after all, my excuse to catch up with my bestie and force them to obsess over my obsessions too. Then, in a fun turn of events, Casper will provide a short and sassy summary of chapters 32 through 35. We'll give our brief, general, overall thoughts before diving into each chapter individually. Then, we'll discuss our favorite quotes or moments and any predictions for the rest of the book and series. Finally, we've got a little section where we've each picked a song to dedicate to each chapter. Songs that we'll compile into a public playlist that we'll update weekly for you, our fellow book baddies. Got it? Good. Now let's dive in. What's new with you?
I have become a mother. I started growing pumpkins. And these are the first plants that I have grown from seed. And I'm really, really excited about them. I planted, I think, 27 in total between various germination trays.
Do you have space for 27 of them?
Well, technically, possibly. Anyway, still fun. But yeah, watching them grow has been very fulfilling, and I'm very proud of myself for being able to do it and keep them alive.
Yeah.
And I know that apparently pumpkins are very, very easy to grow, so I didn't really have much to do with it, and I'm very excited for them. And yeah, that's kind of what I've been obsessed over the past 2 weeks. I go out and check on them multiple times a day and just talk to them and tell them how beautiful they are and how much I love them and how happy they make me.
What I've been obsessed with this week. So I caught up to, I was reading the Spark of the Everflame, I believe it's called the Kindred's Curse Saga, in preparation for the third book that had come out that I hadn't read yet. So I reread the first two books, and I finally got to the third book and finished it in this 2 week period, which is nice because that book's a chonker. I think it's over 800 pages. And then I got back into Iron and Ember that I had soft DNF'd when I first initially tried to get back into reading. And I'm about 75% of the way through this one. This
Very
is also
nice.
a little bit of a chunker. It's big font though, and the chapters are literally 3 or 4 pages at that. So it's a bit of a breeze to get through. That, and I've been getting into bedazzling things, and so I started bedazzling my paperback copy of Fourth Wing.
I love it. It's pretty.
I'm even going in and doing the gold detailing there, and then this is a transparent, but it kind of has a pink shift to it.
Do you have multiple sizes and colors?
Oh yeah, I've got all my supplies here. I can show you.
Yes, please.
I got these little there's different sizes inside that, and I just really liked the little containers. They're probably a bit more expensive for how many jewels you get, but I was it comes with built-in storage.
Yeah, they're already sorted.
That's gonna be more of the lifesaver for me than just random pouches of beads and things. And then I've got glue and a little wax pen, a little dish for the gems. But it's been a nice, while I'm listening to audiobooks or trying to catch up on other things, or when I do the first pass of editing and I'm just listening for any major things to delete easily, to bedazzle I'm doing it. But I think that's pretty much it.
I forgot there is one more thing that I have. So you know about my weird special interest autistic love for McDonald's history and things?
Yeah.
I got a cheeseburger
With eyeballs.
and a pickle. But hold on, because he's got a daddy. I
And
don't know
someone
what
fell
that
out of
is.
him.
And he hit my mic. God damn it, stop. Cheeseburger. Stop. Camera. I would put it on my head, but there's like spidey webs in it.
Ooh.
I love it
What
so much.
is it? Like, what's its purpose? What is its function?
I don't know if these ones specifically were like the top of like the stools that kids would sit on.
So thousands of butts have been on those.
Potentially. I'm not sure exactly what part of the infrastructure, so to speak, that they are, but I know from my own childhood that there were like little stools with the cheeseburgers on them, so it could be that. It could be something
Where'd
else
you
too.
find
I really
them?
I was gifted them. Got them from a friend who bought a house somewhat recently that has like huge, gorgeous property, a lot of like outbuildings and garages, and one of them was just like chock full of McDonald's paraphernalia and memorabilia. I guess the old man who used to live there and I think passed away was a collector. I also got some really cool books that have like all of like lists of collectibles and like their values with like pictures and everything. Oh my God, I'm so excited. It's like, I don't know why I didn't think of this when I was initially talking about my what am I obsessed with, but also it's because they were sitting behind me.
Out of sight, out of mind.
They were, yep, exactly, the ADHD. But yeah, unfortunately, apparently some dude stole a bunch of stuff, essentially, for like basically all of the stuff from that garage and other things. So there's not a whole lot of memorabilia left, but there were like old cups and things, like stacks of them. It was really cool to look at and it made my heart really happy. So,
Yeah.
especially because like for a very long time, I have said if I ever get like stupid, filthy rich and like win the lottery and have ridiculous money, I want to recreate an entire playground worth of McDonald Land playground equipment. It's just so nostalgic and weird, and I love it. Are you ready to get into summary now that I've stopped yapping?
Yeah.
All right, so here's what you missed on Glee. Vi has an emotional breakthrough on her way to the parapet and realizes she's in love. She faces the parapet once again to confess her feelings to Xaden, and he reciprocates. Yay! Violet then leads them back to Xaden's room for some sexy time. And they bang a whole bunch of times, but are interrupted by Garrick announcing they're under attack. Surprise, bitches! It's just the war games. Lols, the squads are sent on separate missions, except for Violet and Liam, because Daddy Xaden is special and gets to pick his own team. Of course, he opts for all marked ones. Stopping to rest on their long flight to Athbean, Xaden and Violet steal away for a moment only to be surprised by some unexpected guests. Griffin Riders. Uh-oh. Looks like Xaden's putting Violet's faith in him to the test, because plot twist, he's with them. Clearly, Xaden's been keeping some big secrets, but Violet can't quite wrap her head around what's going on until it hits her. Xaden's been lying the whole time. Betrayal! So much for trusting each other. But can all those fables of Venom be true? Putting her feelings aside, on the rest of the flight to Athbean, Vi uses her big, juicy scribe brain to put the pieces together and accept the truth. But when they land at the outpost, it appears the rest of the platoon is off taking a simultaneous off-campus lunch break because this bitch empty. Surely that's all. And they didn't just walk into a trap, right? Because that would mean that they were set up. And if they were set up, someone must have spilled their guts about Xaden's little trips. And there's no way it could have been Dane, right? There's no way he could have known, right? He wouldn't have betrayed Vi's trust and secretly looked through her memories, right? Right.
Bravo.
Thank you. Right after I said the whole time, I got that clip from Mrs. Doubtfire. The whole time.
I love that movie.
Me too.
You don't expect her to be able to like get that deep with her voice, and then she does, and you're like, oh, okay, she mean business. Got it. Got it. So overall general thoughts. I know it's a bit difficult to ask you this after you've done the summary, this set of chapters, but
yes.
How, I guess, I mean, we'll get into it, but did you suspect any of the surprises that we got these set of chapters?
I expected that there was a twist coming because, like, let's be real, there's not been a whole lot of, like, core conflict in the book. So I knew it was like leading up to that there was going to be some big reveal. Knew it had something to do with Xaden and like the war and the marked ones. Like this was all kind of what was going on. I had a feeling he was like working with the enemy, so to speak. I'm not super surprised that like the venom in the fables are true, because I kind of figured that.
They were brought up a lot to not be anything.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, beyond that, we'll get into it because I have a lot of thoughts.
Alrighty, let's dive in then, shall we? Chapter 32. So this first page, Violet walks out onto the parapet to meet Xaden after the party. My first thing I had here was the quote, "But I see him sitting about a third of the way across the narrow stone bridge, staring up at the moon like it somehow adds to the burden he carries, and my heart fucking hurts. He had the lives of all 107 marked ones carved into his back, taking responsibility for them. But who takes responsibility? Takes care of him." And I just wrote, "Oh, buddy."
Buddy.
And also the whole, like, looking up at the moon, I'm like, this is so angsty.
Oh my god, yeah. Like, poor sad little emo boy.
Yeah. Says, "Oh gods, I know this feeling. Denying it doesn't make it any less true. My feelings are what they are. I haven't run from a challenge since I crossed the parapet a year ago, and I'm not about to start now." And I wrote, "I haven't run from a challenge. Sure. You mean you only just now coming to these terms? Is you having not been running from these feelings? Whatever you say, Vi."
It's fine. It's fine. We'll take your word for it.
Then I also had another one immediately after that. It says, "The last time I stood here, I was terrified, but the distance to the ground isn't what has my pulse pounding now. There's more than one way to fall. Shit, that ache in my chest burns brighter than the power coursing through my veins. I'm in love with Xaden." I was just like, finally, she admitted it. Also, same. I love love.
I love love.
It says, "I've kept out of his bed, out of his arms, because he's adamant I can't fall for him. But that ship has long sailed, so what's the point in holding back? Shouldn't I grab hold of every moment we can have while he's still here?" I was like, and the readers rejoice, because we've only gotten one sex scene so far in this book. And we would like to see more. Please and thank you. Up to this point. Because then after that...
Wait a second. No. I've read more than one. But yeah, it's in this set of chapters.
So this is where Violet starts to confess in her stronger feelings with Xaden, and he starts to assuage her jealousy.
Okay. Mine, I mean, it's a favorite, but honestly, a lot of these are favorites this time around.
Oh, true.
So it's one that, like, I just think it's a nice little callback. When she says, "What am I doing out here? I'm risking everything to reach him. And if he rejects me, no, there's no room for fear on the parapet." I just love that little callback to that very first, like, big challenge that we had with Vi, that we went through with her. And that was like a very big, like, physical, like, danger, fear-based challenge. But this time, the danger is in her heart. And she's so brave. I'm so proud of her.
I also highlighted the same one, but I just wrote scary. Not just being on the parapet, but also her being brave and putting
Putting her heart out there.
Physically and emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Scary.
It is scary. I've been there, and most of the time, I got rejected.
I mean...
It happens. It's life. Yeah, rejection in general sucks.
No fun. And then, especially when you add your heart into it, it's like, ooh.
I'm like, you've been pining for somebody, and you're like, I just need to tell them I gotta shoot my shot. And you do, and they're like, nah.
Nah, fam.
Nah, fam. And it just goes, ouch.
It just goes, ouch.
I don't know what's gotten into me today, quite honestly.
This next quote says, "It doesn't scare me. I like him better when he's real with me anyway." And I felt like this was kind of a cool callback to the whole tell me something real. It seems to be their, like, this is our connection point. Or I want to be connected to you on a more emotional level. Tell me something real that you wouldn't tell somebody else, kind of thing. And I just wanted to point that out because it felt sweet. It says, "Even if Xaden's death wouldn't kill Sigale, I'm not sure I could survive it." And I was like, I couldn't either. Nothing better happened to him. We're in that final deadline where I'm just like, everybody is fair game.
Yeah.
And I'm scared.
One, be very, very careful.
Yes. Tiptoe everywhere.
Take no unnecessary risks.
Then we had our first lightning mention of the set of chapters. Xaden asks if she's going to wield lightning to break her fall. And then Xaden says, "You're seriously going to be the death of me." And to have this line come after she thinks even if Xaden's death wouldn't kill Sigale, I'm not sure I could survive it. I'm like, stop talking like that.
Like, there have been multiple times in this set of chapters where they have alluded to one another being the death of themselves.
Yeah.
That is a sentence that made sense. I
It
guarantee
did.
it. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for feeding
Validating.
my delusion.
The best of friends do. If your friend doesn't feed you the correct delulus, then are they really your friend?
No.
Oh, the lightning mention is the first time this round, but the 50th overall in the book that I've noticed. And then the death of me count is the first one of this section, but the third overall that I've seen so far. Then immediately after that, it says, "It's not a rejection, not with the way he's looking at me. We've been sparring emotionally for the past month, hell, even longer than that, and one of us has to expose our jugular. I finally trust him enough to know he won't go for the kill." I was just like encouraging Violet, like, "You've got this. You can do it. Just speak your little heart out. You tell him how you feel." But then also just the idea of like, I finally trust him enough. And then we read these next set of chapters and I'm like, maybe you don't got this. Maybe keep it in. Maybe don't say nothing yet. Suck that tear back up.
That fucked up my sinuses and my ear holes.
It sounded like it hurt. So I highlighted, "You want me. You show it in a million different ways. Please don't deny it." His jaw flexes, but he doesn't deny it. And all I wrote was, he doesn't deny it. He feels something too.
I don't want to get into the whole like monologue. It's like a freaking paragraph, that this speech that she gives him. But essentially, so like this whole monologue feels so much more brutal on the second read through after we know the betrayal that is coming. But objectively, taking myself out of Violet's point of view, it feels a little bit like, considering the big reveal that this, the war is a conspiracy, essentially. Azrael, you closed my book.
How rude.
Pay for your crimes. Say hello. Good boy. Yes. So objectively, like, knowing what the big reveal is and like the weight of that and how serious a subject that is, it does feel a little main character-y. And again, I get it from Violet's point of view. Like, she doesn't know any of that shit. This is the biggest thing that's going on in her life right now. Like, this is her biggest conflict. And I will say, like, the first time I read through it, it obviously, like, it did not feel that way. It was only on the second time that I was like, oh, well, I know what happened, so this feels a little bit silly now.
I've never taken it as feeling silly or main character-y.
I don't know. I also might have just been in a mood when I've been in some moods these past 2 weeks. I'm all kinds of dysregulated.
This next one I highlighted strictly because it made me think of a mental image in my head. So it says, "Then what made you even think that? Have to admit, it pissed me off. I've given you exactly 0 reasons to think I'm in anyone else's bed." Which means he's only in mine. Him getting pissed off to her thinking he would be entertaining that idea is a very Dan move. His initial and my initial reactions to anything is just anger until we figure out what the heck we're feeling. So, like, usually if I come to him with something, he'll get mad. Like, why would you even think that? And I'm just like, because my brain screwed up. I don't know. It just reminded me of that. And it's usually from a place of, like, I would never, I'm affronted. You would think that I would do that kind of a place, not a mad at you kind of a anger. And then I just wrote, so when she's like, which means he's only in mine. Dan has a nephew when he was younger that when he would go, yes, he would do it backwards and go, yes. So Dan and I, it became a thing with us where we go, yes. And so then that was my mental image after she's like, which means he's only in mine. Yes.
I love that. It's so cute. Quote, "I could change the subject or deflect, but it's not going to do our relationship, if that's even what this is, any favors if I hide my feelings, no matter how weak the irrational ones might make me seem." So we have I don't know why I feel the need to explain this. We have a shared notes document. And so I saw in it that you have put emotional maturity. And I'm like, that's exactly, like, those are the only words that I have. Like, that's exactly what I'm thinking here. I've definitely done that before. Deflected or like change the subject when feelings get real and vulnerable, because it is very hard to be vulnerable. It's so hard to just like expose every part of yourself. It is difficult.
And coming from a reading standpoint, there are so many, and a lot of the characters tend to veer on the younger side in new adult books, but it almost feels like them being younger is an excuse for them to make dumb mistakes to move plot and give drama to situations sometimes. And I appreciate that, yes, Violet has kind of been on the runaround with these feelings for a while, like refusing to acknowledge them, it never comes across as her, like she never comes across as emotionally immature. She might not necessarily think what she's actually thinking in the moment and isn't able to, I guess, verbalize or give name to what she is feeling in that moment. But she lives her truth as much as possible, I feel like, on page, compared to other characters that are, say, in their 20s that aren't as emotionally mature. And it's very refreshing. Read a character that is able to process their feelings eventually and then reiterate those same feelings instead of taking everybody, including other characters, a wild ride that could have been solved with, you know, some
communication.
talking.
Yeah. She's very like straightforward and no bullshit. That's one of the things I really, really love about her as a main character. Like, she doesn't put up with shit. Like, she doesn't put up with her own bullshit.
So in this 2 set of pages, Violet and Xaden both agree that they want to do this, whatever this is. And Violet manages to convince Xaden to leave the parapet. Then this next line, I'm interested to see what you thought, because I know you had anticipated different couplings. Do you want to read the line?
Quote, but on the sparring mat, my eyes widen. She has a thing for Garrick.
In reference to Imogen.
Yeah, sorry. I was about to say, do you want to? I paused for dramatic effect, but I didn't say Imogen.
Forgot to give the brain cell back. Sorry. That was my bad.
How dare you?
I just wrote, I want them to smooch.
Yeah, now that they mention it, I want them to smooch too.
I pointed out the whole, like, them bickering under the tree thing. And when you asked me about it, and I was like, because arguing equals sexual tension or something like that. And it wasn't at all me being excited for them because I knew that this part was coming up and then just blabbing. And I was like, oh, okay, how do I backtrack?
You know what's funny? I don't even remember you saying that because ADHD, and I haven't listened back to our episodes, all of them yet. I've still only gone through like the first 1.5 because I find it hard to listen to myself.
Bitch, and you think I don't either?
I know. Look, I feel bad. I should listen to our podcast.
Might be helpful. Who did you initially want Imogen to be with, though? Was it Riddick?
Riddick.
Just because you love them both.
Like, now thinking about it, I do see them more as like brotherly, sisterly, like sibling kind of roles a little bit. But that might also be because I can't take Riddick seriously. I love him. I can't take him seriously.
It says, next time, just ask. As I remember, you've even thrown daggers at my head, which I greatly prefer over watching you get tangled up in your thoughts. If we're going to do this, then we have to trust each other. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on this line, because I have mixed feelings about it. Honestly, I feel like Violet was trying to in that moment, and maybe this is just coming from the perspective of somebody who gets tangled up in her own thoughts, and therefore cannot process or verbalize what she's trying to say when trying to have a conversation with somebody about something important, like feelings or whatever. And so, I don't know if it's like the way she phrased the, is it Imogen thing? That he had issues with, because it sounds like he's coming off as emotionally mature, but this also feels a lot like him deflecting. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that line.
No, I agree with you because, like, she definitely did ask. Was it the most appropriate way to ask or the correct time or place? No, but maybe you should have then brought up that conversation with her in a more appropriate setting. So yeah, it felt a little gaslighty, just a little bit. There are a couple of things in these next couple of chapters that he says or does that do feel a little bit gaslight. But I think I can forgive him
because he's Paperman.
Because he's Paperman. I got to get him in.
Violet says, "Oh no, if I have to trust you and tell you what I'm thinking, then I expect the same from you." And I just wrote, damn right, especially after that whole line that I highlighted just before this. I was like, you tell him.
He grumbles, dragging his gaze back to mine. I saw Atos kiss you after threshing and nearly lost my shit. I love seeing that little jealous, like just a little peek of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I just wrote, I am tomato.
I like a tiny bit of jealousy.
It's just like, oh, you want me that bad, huh? He runs his thumb over the swell of my lips. And I wrote, gulp. I have just a lot of weird reactionary notes.
I like it. It's fun.
If I had a color, I'd be like, ooh. It says, I'm not in a place to take care of anyone tonight. And yes, I know that's a shitty thing to say since it's the anniversary of losing Brennan. This makes my heart hurt because he went out on the parapet to sulk. And I can imagine from his point of view, he's like, okay, this is the one time I'm going to let my guard down. And as soon as I step off this parapet, I go back into the man that everybody needs me to be for all 107 marked ones that are here. Like, go back to the mask of the wing leader. And so then for him to be honest enough to be like, of course, his first instinct is as soon as they leave the parapet, he's going to take care of her. He's not going to think at all about taking care of himself or her wanting to take care of him. And it made my heart hurt.
Yeah.
He has too much responsibility on his shoulders. Anytime anybody adds to it, I'm just like, I will tear you out of the book.
Just done rip out your entire page.
Don't think I won't.
Don't make me get the white out.
Your name from now on will be Harold. I'm just going to white out every one and rewrite the name. Doesn't matter who they are. They're all Harold.
Everyone is Harold.
Yeah.
Looking at my notes, is this something that I should talk about now?
I'm not sure where you're trying to go with it.
Okay, so basically the line just says, trust me. And I would just like to point out that she keeps telling him to trust her. And they keep talking about trust. But then when Xaden needs her to trust him the most, she doesn't do it. That's fucking rude.
Honestly, I feel like this is the first time it's actually been brought up in dialogue about trust. Everything else has been like mostly her mentally thinking it, I feel like.
I think you're right.
Maybe the one instance of them trying to go out and meet their dragons on the flight field after the attack in her room. I think he mentioned something about trust. But outside of that, I don't think.
That is valid. But like, even just thinking about like how much she trusts him.
Yeah.
And whatnot, and she trusts him not to go for the kill, and blah, etc., etc. Keeps talking about trust. Clearly doesn't fucking trust him. And it made me a little bit mad.
I was just gonna say, trying to see it from Violet's point of view, as far as like, this will be something we get into later, so I won't dive too deep into it. But she still, at this point in time, is very much on the side of Navarre. She has new insights into marked ones because of forced proximity with them. Getting all of the information she does get when we get to that chapter is a huge shock. I understand it not being a two-way street with her because it's overshadowed by all these huge revelations that turn her world upside down.
It's basically your entire life is a lie. And I do get that. And I do hope that like isn't a huge like split for them. I hope they're able to work it out because Violet is a very emotionally intelligent person.
Mm-hmm.
And just plain intelligent. And I don't like that they're mad. Yes, at this point, like, yeah, I realize she's still like naive to everything. So for that, like, I give her some grace. But yeah, like I said, I don't want them to be mad at each other.
Fair. But would we have a book if they just immediately trusted each other?
No.
That's part of the whole enemies to lovers thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
This next one we both highlighted.
Yeah.
Do you like to speak on it first?
Yes. So, Violet says about walking across the parapet, I'm much better at this than I was last July. So I see. He stays close, one hand on my waist as I walk the last part of the parapet. In a fucking dress. And Violet says, it's a skirt, actually. I'm like,
actually?
I have literally said this so many times in my life, especially because like I used to have a lot of like sets that was like a very vintage 50s-esque kind of skirt and like a little like tie top, and I would wear them. I had them in a couple different patterns and things, and people would tell me, oh, I love your dress, and every time I would tell them, oh, thanks, it's a skirt and a shirt.
I also pointed this out though because it's something that Xaden will do to her later about Griffin Flyers. Like, they're both very just like, actually, I'm very intelligent and this is what I know about this. And I need to correct you right now.
Yes, I think one of them had more appropriate timing than the other. It's okay, Xaden. I still love you. You silly, silly man.
He's like, distraction, deflect.
I'm adorable.
We're so compatible because we're both nerds.
Yes. I love it.
Me too.
Xaden says, eyes forward. He grumbles, and it's only the fear in his tone that keeps me from doing something arrogant, like skipping the last few feet. That is also something that I would absolutely do because of who I am as a person. And because of who I am as a person, I would then slip and fall and die.
None of this is unfactual.
It's so strange that I have quick reflexes, but I'm so clumsy.
It adds to the clumsiness sometimes because you quickly react to something and that causes you to lose your balance.
Combined with the lack of spatial awareness, it is the worst combination.
It says, he hauls me against him, my back to his front. Don't ever put your life at risk over something as trivial as talking to me again. It's as low as a growl against my ear, sending a shiver down my spine. And I just wrote, oh my god.
It's the kind of stuff that makes my brain go all gooey.
Alrighty, so in these 2 sets of pages, Violet leads Xaden up to his room, and Violet offers to take care of him.
Did you know that the first time I climbed these steps with Dane, I was horrified that there wasn't a handrail? Did you know I can't stand to hear his name on your lips while you're leading the way to my room? Boy's jealous. Little jelly baby.
I just wrote jelly. But also, I think it's funny that Violet would even think, like, she makes this whole big deal about, you're taking me to your room. And then the first name she brings up on the way is Dane. I'm like, girl,
honestly,
I have a feeling she's not very experienced romantically. She sometimes inserts foot in mouth. Granted,
yes.
That's also a Violet trait in general, but
yes. I will say I have accidentally done similar where, like, I'm talking to a partner and, like, I'll bring up an ex at, like, a time that just, like, didn't need to be brought up. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that. So, like, I get it. I empathize.
And also, I find it funny. Xaden is clearly thinking, like, oh, you're taking me to my rooms. And you're going to say another man's name. Okay. But I think it's funny, like, that's what he's initially thinking. He's like, well, no one's going to take care of me. I can't take care of her. We're clearly going to bang. Like, was his thought process.
I mean, that's what I assumed too. Am I incorrect?
I think you're just horny.
Maybe. But each time I read through it, I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna bang.
I mean, every reader hopes they're gonna bang at this point. Like, as soon as someone says, take me to your rooms, or we're going to my room, it's like, even if that's not your intention, like...
It's like asking someone to Netflix and chill, only a little bit more direct.
A little bit more. It says, shadows curling from the wall, as if they sense his mood and want nothing to do with it. But his shadows don't scare me. There's nothing about this man that scares me anymore, except the magnitude of my feelings for him. I just wrote, oh, but it's interesting. As soon as she started realizing that she loves him, capital L, suddenly anything that she would have normally found scary isn't scary anymore. It said a lot, and it's not something I'm tracking, although I feel like I need to, because I need to track everything that happens in this damn book, but I'm tracking too much and I can't. But I want to. But I just thought it was interesting, like, he's in such a mood that his shadows are trying to get away from him, is how she's kind of, like, describing it. And she's like, silly Xaden. Like, yeah. She's got them blinders on bad.
Yeah, she do.
She's talking about his room, and she notices a bookshelf that gives me instant envy. And I said, me too, because I want more bookshelves in my life. I clearly am running out of space on this one, and I need more. And so I'm just like, I feel this on a soul deep level.
I am on bookshelf number 2, I think, but I have a feeling when I get all of my books out of my storage unit, I will be on 3, if not beyond.
This podcast is not going to help you then. No. Violet asks, how many challenges have you won anyway? Xaden says, the better question is, how many have I lost? To which Violet says, there's the ego I know and love so much. I just wrote, I roll my eyes, and yet I'm still blushing about it. This is that kind of banter where it's like, oh, he's egotistical, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I like a man that knows that he knows what he's doing. And also, I highlighted her specific reaction to, there's the ego I know and love so much, because this is her first instance of saying love out loud in his vicinity. And it's almost like she's gearing up to the reveal of, like, these are my emotions for you, and I'm saying it just to test the waters. Like, is it okay to say the word love? Okay, I'm gonna say it, you know?
I move between his thighs and run my fingers through his hair. He closes his eyes and leans into my touch, and I swear I feel my heart crack wide open. Now, I take care of you.
I just wrote in the notes for it, my heart looks like a volcano with lava goo flowing through the cracks.
Yes. Like, that level of intimacy just fucking makes me melt. Like, the little, like, acts of service and physical touch are just so sweet, and, like, that's the stuff that gets me.
I wanted to get your thoughts, because it's not specified during threshing, because it doesn't happen to Violet, and so I want to see what you think. But the quote says, most dragons scar their riders, but Tiernan and Darna have never hurt me. Xaden responds, or maybe they knew you already carried a scar. He trails his finger down the long silver scar on my arm from Tynan's blade. I wanted to fucking kill them, and instead I had to stand there and watch them go at you 3-on-1. I was at the edge of my control and ready to step in when Tarn landed. Why would dragons scar their riders? Because Sigale scars him through his eyebrow. Especially if they are already planning on giving them a relic once they make it to the flight field. And according to Violet, that's painful. Thoughts on maybe why they would? Is it like an added test? Like if you're a weenie, you can't be a dragon rider?
Maybe. Have we considered that maybe Sigale was just trying to make Xaden a little bit more sexy?
She's like, no, something's missing.
Eyebrow scar. Yes, hunty.
I don't sharpen these talons for nothing. I love that. That is not my headcanon.
Yeah, I wonder if it could be like a test of like trust. Like testing that the rider trusts their dragon not to hurt and or kill them. But then sometimes they do kill them, so I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder if it's like, so when they first arrive on the parapet and then they like breathe fire over the students, cadets, to see who runs and who doesn't. I wonder if it's a scare tactic, like, are you brave enough? Maybe. I would like more information on this, Rebecca. It says, a corner of his mouth quirks into one of the sexiest smirks I've ever seen. At the end of the day, you walked away with 2 dragons. His expression falls. 2 weeks from now, I won't even be here to watch when you're challenged, let alone do anything about it. And I just loved this paragraph because he's so proud that she got 2 dragons, but then he's so sad because he's not going to be able to see any of the other cool accomplishments she's going to have next year. And it just shows how much he cares without him flat out being like, I love you too. And I love that. Like, he genuinely wants the best for her and likes to see her succeed. Unlike some people.
He really is like he's so proud of her, and he lets her know that he's proud of her.
So I just wanted to highlight Violet taking care of Xaden. It says, come on, let's get you to bed. I lean in and kiss the scar on his eyebrow. It will be tomorrow when you wake up. And this was just so sweet. I feel like it's a little reminiscent to like putting a kid to bed and that kind of like maternal type love. And because I'm hell-bent on thinking Sigale is like a mommy replacement for Xaden, like, this must have tugged on different heartstrings for Xaden in this moment. And I'm just like, this is just healing for him, I think, on a level he doesn't even know yet. I highlighted Violet's reveal. She says, good, because I think I'm in love with you. Then Xaden's like, you think or you know? And she says, I know. I'm so wildly in love with you that I can't imagine what my life would even look like without you in it. And I probably shouldn't have said that, but if we're doing this, then we're starting from a place of complete honesty. And I just wrote, Gah! I was just so excited for her. But also this feels like a How to Train Your Dragon reference. I can't imagine what my life would even look like without you in it. Or I think the How to Train Your Dragon one is I can't imagine a world without you in it. And I was just like, there's no way that's not a How to Train Your Dragon reference. Rebecca. I knew it. We then have another tracking of thunder. She says, my heart thunders. That's the second one, this section of chapters, and the 51st reference in the book so far.
Lord.
It says, the intensity in his eyes and the vehemence in his words should frighten me, but they don't. Even if this man loses every ounce of his self-control, I know he'll never hurt me. And that said, 'cause you love him. I sent you some of the different like snippets of the graphic audio as I was like listening to it in preparation. And I was just like screaming and wiggling and making feral raccoon noises. I was real chuffed with that one. I was like, wow, I'm fucking smart. That's brilliant. I need to bring that up for the podcast. In these 2 pages, we've got time to disrobing and the first inducing lightning strike. So there's a definite theme this go around when things start to heat up of just like competitively timing each other. And it's a thing that's carried over throughout these chapters a bit. And so this first section that I highlighted says, I think 2 minutes might be overestimating your skills with the corset. And then as soon as he sets her down, she's like, I'm timing you. He's like, is that? And she interrupts. 1, 2, I hold up my fingers. 3. This gives me life. Like, it's just so fun. Like,
30.
Yeah, like, bet you can't take my corset off fast enough. I love a man that rises to the challenge, you know?
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
I'm just a sucker for any time the love interest sees the female main character for the first time completely in their birthday suit. And then when they comment on it, there's something so vulnerable about it anytime there's that kind of line. And so I had to highlight him responding so fucking beautiful the first time he like actually sees her naked. I love this shit. The next line I had highlighted is a continuation of that counting banter competitiveness. It says, I think that might have been a little longer than 2. I start, but he grabs the back of my thighs and lifts, sweeping my feet out from underneath me. My back hits the bed with a slight bounce, and honestly, I should have seen that move coming, given that he's been putting me on my back for the better part of a year now. He asks, still counting? She's like, do you need me to keep score? He's like, feel free. The writing, especially in this section, I'm just like, yeah, you should have foreseen that move, but also, it's fun. Like, let it happen, girl, let it happen. Then we get the first O and thunder booms. So that's the 3rd time lightning has been referenced this section, and the 52nd time overall in the book. And I had to highlight because it's a continuation of the counting theme. As soon as the thunder booms, Zayden's like, that's 1. I love it.
Zayden saying, you can play all you want later if I can have you right now. And Violet responds, you already have me. And I think it's really sweet.
Mine continues on a little bit with that same highlight. So to her, you already have me. He responds, you have everything I have to give. She responds, that's enough for now. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on that because she's clearly already said, I love you. He didn't respond really back to that other than, he didn't even say he wasn't ready to say it. Really just, he responded by sucking face. And then it's like, I need you and I don't know how to process these feelings. So let's have sex. And she's like, I'm down. You didn't have to ask twice. And so there wasn't ever like real a finishing thought to that. And so I guess I just want to know what you think about this response of you have everything I have to give. And then also her thinking that's enough, ... for now.
I think as I love you, but I cannot think and cuddle at the same time. I'm trying to concentrate.
It's going to be a shirt. I cannot think and cuddle at the same time.
I think it's sweet because like he's clearly not ready to say that yet, but this is like how he's expressing how much he cares for her.
Thoughts on Violet's then reaction though? Because clearly it's not enough.
Yeah. And like I kind of get it.
And I think, especially after having read as far as we have so far, we know eventually there's going to be a betrayal. I'm wondering if a lot of this was also Zayden not feeling like he can give her those words until he was truthful with everything.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And so I can imagine him saying that and then her being like, that's enough for now. It's a little foreshadowy as to where they're going to butt heads coming up because they're both in different headspaces. And that's not for lack of them both wanting to be in. Like, they both clearly want to be with each other, I think.
But the situation is not correct. The timing's all wrong. Not that I think there's probably a right timing, which is why you gotta just go for it. But it is difficult.
Yeah. And to a certain extent, like, I can understand. I think it can also be read as her being like, this is before entrance, I guess. And so this feels almost like permission. Like, she says, I love you again because it's freeing. It's her truth. And so then when she says, you already have me, you have everything I have to give, she's like, that's enough. I nod, arching my hips. And that's when it can also be read as, yeah, I'm just desperate. Let's just go for it right now. That's enough for now because I'm ready. Let's go.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
But it also can be read, I think, just like her understanding and being like, that's enough for now because I know we're going to eventually get there.
Yeah.
So many meanings for like 4 little words.
Yeah. It's funny how differently one can interpret things or how so many people can interpret the same thing in different ways.
That's what I love about writing. But also it's kind of infuriating because authors that know how to use that against you will. And then you just are left with so many questions because you're like, well, did you mean it this way or did you mean it this way? Tell me now so I can know going further into the book. Rebecca's good at that. And then our next highlight is heart-jolting pace. So that's the 4th time a thunder adjacent term has been used, the word jolt there. And that's the 53rd time throughout the book. So this is where Violet says, I love you again. And then his eyes flare and his control snaps. And I was like, it's the I love you that got him. Like, he never gave her an I love you back. But he clearly likes that she loves him. And so this feels like well, I don't feel like I can tell you, this affects me in a positive way. Like, this is a clue, like, love you too, but I can't say it out loud, kind of a thing, you know? Also, knowing that Rebecca Yarros is a huge Star Wars fan, I wonder if she's having him not say it back because of the Han Solo, Leia, I love you, I know, line that
I know.
sometimes I think Han Solo's a himbo.
He is, come on.
So I kind of make him sound derpier than he actually is. There's nothing wrong with himbos. They've got a time and place.
I love a himbo. I love a bimbo. I love a thembo. I kind of am a thembo.
Oh, I forgot I was going to start off recording by saying, hey, they, hey, to you. I forgot.
I love that.
I thought it, and it tickled me because I thought it was so clever, and I was like, I should say this, and then I didn't.
Hey, they, hey.
Hey, they, hey.
Yeah, one of my favorite, like, stand-ins for specifically the word girl is ghoul, because it is very similar, but is...
And it's on brand for you.
Yes, and so my partners don't call me their girlfriend, they call me their ghoul friend.
That tracks. But he is constantly moving her hair from her face, or like, if he sees her braid, as they started to get to know each other, he's like constantly touching her hair. He is obsessed with her hair. And it says, his fingers tangle in my hair. I fucking love your hair. If you ever want to bring me to my knees or win an argument, just let it down. I'll get the point. I'm just like, boy has been obsessed with her hair since day one. Specifically, under the tree in chapter 7, he goes to put a dagger back, moves her cloak, sees her hair, and he like freezes like, oh, that's pretty. In chapter 19, after the broom attack, when he's like gently moving her hair out of the way, I think something along the lines of she hears him intake air at like seeing her hair, and then he like moves it really gently. And then in chapter 22, when they have their first kiss in the snow, he like brushes the snow out of her hair. Like, he's just obsessed, and I love this shit.
Also, he said, I love your hair. As if he's testing the waters.
No. True. I didn't catch that, or where you were going with it.
Sorry.
You just said, I love your hair. Like I was supposed to catch it. I'm like, what?
Look, sometimes the shared brain cell fails, okay? Sometimes I pass it and it's
not there.
Way over your head. And also I forget sometimes that like the audience doesn't share the brain cell.
Yeah.
So I still need to like explain my train of thought for people who are listening.
Might be helpful.
Okay, so Violet blew out his window when she came. Like, the lightning, it went boom, and the glass...
It went boom.
And the glass, it went crack. Violet says, I'm pretty sure I blew your window out. He responds, unless there's someone else throwing lightning around, then yeah, that was you. This bitch blew out his window. Jesus fucking Christ. My God.
There's also the 5th time lightning has been referenced in this set of chapters, and the 54th overall in the book.
So, and in the same train of thought, I gasp. That's why he threw himself sideways, to shield me from my own wreckage. I'm so sorry. I scan over the damage, but there's only sand on the bed. So, one thing I remember from repeatedly watching Sweet Home Alabama as a child is that when lightning strikes sand, it turns into glass. So, like, how hard did she come that she shattered the glass back into sand?
Oh, interesting. I always took it as the glass passing through his shadow shield is what turned it to sand.
Oh, I suppose that could be too.
But I always have the mental image of like in movies where if they have a shield and something tries to pass through it and it like breaks apart into its base materials. At least that's how I always took it, was because it went through his shield to protect them.
I like my headcanon better. Anyway.
Well, good for you.
Look, let me believe that this girl's orgasms are that powerful, okay? Let me believe it could be true.
I'll give it to you.
Thank you.
I just don't agree with it.
So you're saying Xaden isn't good enough to make her come that hard?
If anything, it makes Xaden extra cooler because he's the one who turned that glass into sand. So he made her come that hard, and he can turn glass to sand. He's just so cool and powerful. So Violet says, what are we going to do? Xaden says, right now. He strokes my hair back from my face again. That's a separate thought. I just needed to highlight that he touched her hair again. That was 2, if we're still counting. And I say we clean up, get the sand out of the bed, and get you to 3, maybe 4 if you're still awake. I gaze down at his body, and the craving for him ignites again. How could it not when he looks like the gods blessed him and feels like the gods blessed me? It says, yeah, let's go for 3. And then the very next paragraph, all it says is, we're going for 5. I'm like, Rebecca!
My brain had an association that went, they're going the distance. They're going.
But also, I find it funny that she landed on 5 because this is a 5-book series. And so technically we're all going for 5 on this ride.
Damn.
Lion Garrick says, grab your flight leathers and you'd better bring Sora and Gale with you too. He would know that you're in there with Violet. Not only because he was like your bodyguard on the parapet, but he and Liam and probably some other people have been on furniture mover duty for Violet and Zayden before. And I don't know if it's been made, but I desperately need like a got a broken armoire, we can move it like type shirt, like furniture movers are us or something, you know, like marked 1 moving company. I don't know. I need this shirt in existence if it's not. Let's get into chapter 33. And Zayden is just worried that Violet's gonna be cold outside. And so he says, you're gonna freeze out there. And then he says, here. Zayden throws one of his flight jackets over me, trapping my hair. You shouldn't be out in formation too long. I can't stand the thought of you being cold. With my hands full of weapons, I don't argue about him buttoning the flight jacket over my chest. I was like, this is so sweet. A little bit like Letterman jackety, but still sweet.
He's cute.
And then we have the second death of me count. He says, wanting you will be the death of me. That now makes it 4 times that he said it in this book, and that is 4 times too many, Zayden.
You gotta stop this, bud.
Yeah, bud.
You gotta stop.
So their information, and Liam comes up, and Violet's like, good night. And he says, fine. His cheeks turning pink in the moonlight. And he's still buttoning the top of his uniform. It doesn't specify if it's a dress uniform or if it's a flight leathers outfit uniform. And so I'm like, tell me who you were with. You were asking about scribes earlier. Was it Jacinia? Were you shooting your shot?
Need the tea, boy.
Tell me. I am your mother. I need to know.
It's my God-given right.
I gave birth to you. I get to know who you sleep with.
Look, I don't judge your family's relationships.
We get another lightning reference, and it's in the middle of a favorite. So I won't get too much into it, but the phrase just says lightning struck. That's the 6th time and the 55th overall in the book.
Zayden looks anything but pleased, and his gaze locks with mine for a millisecond. Fucking war games. In my notes, I just put, hey, that's a cruel fucking trick, my guy.
They were going for 5. How rude.
But also, like, why the fuck you gonna make people think that you are under attack and people are dying? That's fucked up. That's traumatic.
A part of it feels a little off in that it's like, if you were really under attack, you wouldn't have time to wait around in formation.
Yeah, I was also like, wait, why are y'all going to formation if you're under attack? Like, but it was still mean.
And just being the bestest friend ever, Dane comes up and she's like, hey, Atos, Rhiannon says, leaning on my shoulder and quickly draping her hand over my collarbone to hide Zayden's insignia and rank. Good morning, huh? Just like, best friends don't let best friends' notice who they've been sleeping with.
Yeah, the best friend of my best friend is my enemy. I think.
Yes. So the War Games announcement happens, and then they go off to get ready.
4th Wing to the southeast. Each squad will pick which outpost they will reinforce within that region. Choices are first come, first served. Wing leaders, however, will be assigned to theirs for the purposes of determining a headquarters for this exercise.
So I had that highlighted 4th Wing to the southeast. And because we know the south is where a lot of the action is, Dane then later says, we're going to claim the outpost at El Tuval, the northernmost one in our assigned region. So you're going to the most northern outpost in the southeast. And I just foreshadow that you know a lot of shit's happening in the south, and that's why you want to stay in like the closest one to Navarre that you can. A little chicken shit.
I didn't pick up on that. That's a...
Especially because his dad's the one reading like the War Games announcement. And so since he's the one in charge of the games this year.
Seemingly like deciding the assignments for the wing leaders.
And we know Dane is in regular talks with his dad because when Violet runs into him and her mom and Melgren, she's like, Dane's my squad leader. He's like, yeah, he told me. Like, oh, so you talk regularly, unlike Lilith and Violet. So I feel like I can foresee his dad being like, I'm in charge of war games this year. Here's where I'm going to put your team. Have some early knowledge.
Yeah.
It says, he turns to each wing leader, giving out orders, but glances in our direction, no doubt looking for Dane, before he turns towards Xaden, he being Colonel Atos. Something about the way his smile slips for a heartbeat makes the hair rise on the back of my neck. I just wrote, this seems shady. Also, this no doubt looking for Dane line is it's an assumption.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's there as a misdirect, or if he was looking for Dane, but then catches eyes on Xaden.
I thought the same thing, actually.
What are you trying to hint at, Rebecca?
Ryerson, you'll establish your headquarters for 4th Wing at Athbean. Wing leaders, assemble your headquarters squads at your own discretion, pulling from any and all riders within your wings. Consider this a test of leadership, as there are no limitations in a real-world scenario. And Violet thinks, Athbean, that's beyond the wards. That's where Xaden flew his secretive mission.
I just wrote, beyond the wards? For war games?
Yeah, that is also weird. It's like he is seemingly... We don't hear him address any of the other wing leaders.
I always took that as Violet is just reiterating the stuff that's important to her and her squad.
Yeah, and that's kind of like why I am a little unsure. Like, it seems like he's singling him out, but that's also, again, on my second read through of like, I know what's going down and now I'm suspicious of everything. So I don't know. It feels like it could be a little bit of a foreshadow. If he is like singling him out, it could just be, like you said, like, because I do forget that this is in world, like canonically told by one of the scribes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which means her bestie in the scribe quadrant wrote, and we go for 5.
Maybe that's also why we don't know who Liam was with.
She purposefully took it out. Jessenia, you're besties with Violet, who clearly is telling you all the details of her sex life. Why can't you tell us a little bit about yours?
Come on.
It says, quote, I throw Xaden's jacket in my rucksack, just in case anyone snoops through my room while I'm gone. And my note was just, isn't your room warded? So only you and Xaden can enter?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think people can break the ward?
I mean, well, someone can unweave wards.
True.
Someone in the squad can unweave wards.
Nadine?
Yeah, Nadine.
I didn't remember that was a signet that people had, so...
So, like, maybe a valid concern. Also, Nadine is the one that she doesn't seem to really trust a whole lot because she's the one who is, like, biased against the marked ones. So, I mean...
It tracks.
Wear every single dagger you own, Xaden demands, startling me. I'm already wearing 12. I continue throwing items into my overnight pack. Girl! Nope, lost train of thought again. God damn.
She's wearing 12 as in the 12 he gave her?
They're her favorite. They're special. For me, this felt like a little bit of a foreshadow moment. Like, he knows shit might be going down, so...
Well, they're going outside the wards even, like, precautionary.
Yes, but it made me wonder, because, like, he knows there's more going on. So, again, I'm suspicious of everything now.
I can tell.
Like, that's also why I keep getting confused, because I've underlined so many things that I was like, is that a foreshadow? And then it was, oh, nope, no, it wasn't. Like, in these set of chapters specifically, like, I'm on the lookout. If he leaves without saying goodbye, I'm going to track him down and kill him myself. Violet, my girl, I am going to need you and Xaden to stop alluding to the fact that you're going to kill each other or be the death of each other. Because my heart cannot take it. I get it. I know. I am aware. You've dropped enough hints. Please stop.
That's a good one. I didn't track that one because Violet says it. I've only been tracking whenever Xaden does. So that's
well,
a good
and
call.
it's not like in the same way, but it's still that like on theme. I've started my own tracking.
I saw that. Proud of you. Rhiannon's like, I can almost taste that squad leader designation for next year. And I was like, look at our bestie having ambitions and goals. This terrifies me.
Yeah, I just actually considered the actual prospect of Rhiannon being a squad leader. And while I do think she would be good at it,
it scares me because if a character has ambitions and goals, I'm like, are you going to make it to complete those goals?
Don't do that to me.
I'm scared. Be scared with me.
I don't want to be scared.
If I have to be, you have to be too.
That's no fun. Look, I prefer my fear to come in the form of horror and gore. Thank you. Because that shit doesn't scare me.
So therefore you're not actually being scared.
Yeah.
Okay. You're so big and tough and strong.
Yeah.
They meet out on the flight field, where Xaden reveals that Violet is on his hand-selected headquarters squad.
Don't worry, Silver One, Tane interjects, his tone resolved. Everything is as it should be. This feels like a little bit of foreshadowing. Tane knows what's going on.
Also, he uses this line a lot. Everything is as it should be. He used it on Violet, I think, when she was like, do I get to keep both of you? After threshing. He's like, don't worry, everything is as it should be.
True. They felt ominous.
Tane's a bit of an ominous, like...
Yeah, that's why I like him.
He's so old, everything comes out like double meanings. And riddles. Xaden brings up that Violet can wield lightning. And that's the 7th time this set of chapters. And the 56th time overall.
Don't do this. Writers are known to die during war games, and she's safer with me, Dane argues. Anything could happen once we're away from Basgaeth, let alone you taking her beyond the wards. What the fuck made you think that you are tougher and bigger and badder and stronger and more skilled than Daddy Xaden?
My note is very similar. It says, safe with you simply because you'd be inside the wards. Do you really think if it was down to between you and Xaden that you'd ever come out on top in any situation? He's a year older, had more time with his signet, also has a more powerful, more offensive signet. Like, even if it were to just come down to hand, it sounds like he's a better fighter on the sparring mat than you. Like, in what world would you come out on top? Dane says, or has this been your plan all along, to separate her from her squad so you can use her to get your need for revenge on her mother? And in my notes I put, I swear everyone in Basgaeth thinks they major in psychology. This is so assumptive. And I get, like, when life and death is on the line, this does have more validity to the assumption, because better to assume than you get caught unaware, and then that's the end of you. But it's getting kind of old how much everyone's like, you clearly have a need for revenge against her mother, when he has never stated such that I am aware of, at least not from Violet's POV.
Yeah, he hasn't demonstrated that in any way that we've seen.
Like, the only time he acknowledges it is that first time they meet on the parapet. He's like, your mom captured my father.
Captured.
Yeah.
He didn't even say killed.
Mm-hmm. In these next 2 pages, Dane realizes Violet and Xaden are a thing. And then he creepily says goodbye to Violet. Let's get into it. I had this very first highlight here. Violet says, stop. I put my hand on Xaden's arm. Xaden, stop. If you want me to go with you, I'll go. It's that simple. His gaze shifts to meet mine and immediately softens. And I was like, it's the soft gaze that I think triggers to Dane. Like, it's one thing if Violet puts her hand on his arm. Like, that, if I were Dane, would be the first red flag. But then because his face softens, I think that's the, like, oh. Because I never noticed that line before. And I picked it up this time and I was like, sweet, but also sorry.
It's got a sting.
And then we got another lightning strike when Dane whispers, no fucking way. Says it reverberates in my bones like a lightning strike. 8th time it's happened to this section. 57th time overall in the book. Then Dane says, him. Dane's eyes widen and his face flushes. You and him? He shakes his head. People talk, and I thought that's all it was. But you... ... And I wrote, guess he didn't see the kiss or any of the sexy times that they've had since. He's touched her face a couple of different times. We're trying to figure out where he picked the memory, and I'm like, so I guess he didn't see in her brain. So that narrows it down a bit, I guess. Or he just happened to not have... I think his power works like Google reverse image search. I think he has to type in what he's looking for, and he finds it, and I don't think he had
that on the agenda. In the same paragraph, Dane pleads with Violet. Don't go, Violet. Please. He's going to get you killed. Rebecca, I get it.
He whispers, he being Dane, to Violet, after accepting that she's going to go with Xaden. I'll miss you, Violet. And I just wrote, why is this ominous?
Yeah, this very much felt like he's saying goodbye. He knows what's going on. Like, this was my foreshadow moment. Like, that's never a good sign. That's a red flag right there. That's a goodbye. Don't do that. Well, actually, it's Dane, so you can go ahead and do that. But like the insinuation. No.
Did you find it shady the first time you read it?
Yes.
Really? I think it can be read as like I'm saying goodbye to the prospect of us romantically. And so I'll miss what we could have had. I think it can be read that way. And that's how I initially read it when I first was reading it, because I'm a romantic bitch and I was like, he loves her and his heart's being broken even though he's been an ass this whole time.
I like to see the worst in Dane. So
Fair.
I'm always suspicious of him. Especially because clearly he knows things that we don't know, and I want to know what he knows.
I mean, he keeps telling us he knows things that we don't know, but he won't tell us the things that we don't know.
That's true. So how do we know what he knows?
Exactly. So after the creepy goodbye, Xaden says to Violet, "Thank you for trusting me." And she responds, "Always." And I was like, ugh. Especially on a reread. This is deep. Because, like, she believes she will. And we know later that she won't. Quote, "I can't help but note both of the important men are walking away from me right now, in opposite directions. And given the one I've chosen to follow, my life is about to change forever." And I was like, is this Rebecca hinting that we need to, like, buckle our seatbelts because things are about to get real bumpy?
Yeah, that's what it felt like, for sure.
Also, for some reason, I get tripped up with how this sentence is laid out. I feel like it should say, both of the important men in my life are walking away. Because it just says that they're the important men. They're not the most important men ever. Clarify it a little bit. But I think that's also just the way my brain works. Because it still reads and you still understand the base meaning of it. I'm just being really semantic about it.
That's okay. My brain does that too. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this week's episode.
We're so excited to be on this journey with you.
Haven't had enough of us yet? Join us next week as we discuss chapters 34 and 35 in part 2 of episode 9.
Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Bound to Be Bad Podcast.
And while you're at it, please be sure to leave a glowing rating and review on Audible and Apple Podcasts. It not only helps us grow, but plays a huge part in the growth of any podcast you listen to. So share the love.
Know a fellow book baddie who can't get enough of the Empyrean series either? Share us with a friend to give them something to hold on to till the next book release, because who knows when that will be.
Till then, we'll be here, and we hope to see you soon.
Bye.
Bye!